Hi, and welcome to my podcast, Pregnant in Japan, your podcast about pregnancy, birth, and the joy of a relaxed motherhood in Japan. My name is Vicky. I'm a German mom living in Tokyo. I'm sharing my positive birth experience to inspire you with yours.
Today we have Celia who's originally from France and lives now since 10 years, since 2011, in Tokyo, and she's a certified midwife. And she's also the co-founder of a French network group, IPO, who supports parents and parents-to-be. Hello, Celia.
Hello.
Thanks for your time. And before we start, I like to ask this two unconventional questions also to you. The first one is, because you are from France and you also have been a while in Japan, do you prefer the beach of Ishigaki or the ones in Deauville in France?
Ishigaki.
Ishigaki, why so?
Because it's warmer.
Oh, yeah. Deauville is quite in the north, right?
Yeah, for France, yeah.
Okay. And the other question is quite personal. If I know you have two children already, but if you had another baby girl or another baby boy, what would be a possible name, or what would be some names that you really like?
Actually, recently, I think my kids are now 10 and 6, so my test maybe changed a bit because I found that maybe mixed name or a bit like original or powerful names is nice. And so I was thinking of Charlie, which can be, boy or girl.
Oh, for boy and girl, good.
Yeah,
Oh,
Charlie is also, it's a bit unconventional in France, but it's a more international name, I would say. But
yeah, nice.
I don't know why I thought of this name. I thought Charlie is a bit, bold for a girl, and it's a bit nice also for a boy.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Like it. Celia, you are one of the few contacts, I would say, I found here in Tokyo who actually helped to recover after birth the pelvic floor. So I was wondering, why is it so hard to find specialists in this area here in Tokyo, since it's just such an important topic?
Yeah, it's an important topic in a lot of countries, but there is actually in many countries we don't talk much about the pelvic floor, and we don't. Maybe the medicine area is not focusing enough. Maybe because it's another female topics, and we are in a lot of patriarchy countries over the world. And maybe also because it's a bit taboo, it's intimate for women to talk about their problems in this area. So they tend to maybe not mention to the doctors and just think, oh, I have kids and now I have a weak pelvic floor. This is just going with the package and I just have to live with that. So yeah, I think it's a shame, but it's like, periods and all of that that we don't talk enough. But
yeah, it's sorry, go ahead.
And Japan is not really known as really a country with a bit it's a bit patriarchal country, so maybe also it's the reason.
Yes, and it's such a pity because by, I would say, rather simple exercise, you can avoid so much discomfort. So we want to let everybody know that it's possible to work on this. And before we start to dive deeper in this topic, can you maybe explain what it is exactly the pelvic floor and what it does during childbirth or maybe already during pregnancy?
Yeah, so pelvic floor, which is good with the English name of the pelvic floor, it's that it stays in the name. So it's kind of the floor of the pelvic. So it's a bunch of muscles that are connect in the pelvis area to hold the organs up, because with the gravity we are standing up. If there is no muscle, basically the organs will go down, which is not good. And also it's in terms of functionality, there is all the sphincters that hold, we can be continent, we can hold a fart, the poo, we can hold everything with the pelvic floor. And also there is the muscle around the vagina area, which are important during intercourse. So this is all aspects in the life that are in the pelvic floor muscle. So it's really important part. Yeah. It's like in France, we call it like or maybe in English too, but the diaphragm. We have a diaphragm here on top of the abdominal part, and the lower diaphragm is basically the pelvic floor. And we need these two diaphragm to hold all the abdominal organs in the abdominal cavity. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about my pelvic floor at all until maybe pregnancy or after pregnancy. And it's a pity we take it, or I took it for granted, what the pelvic floor does for us, or for me. And yeah, it's just... yeah, we shouldn't take it for granted, but also do something for our pelvic floor.
I think it's also lack in education that we talk about muscles in general in anatomy class or biology class, but we don't talk much about those muscles. And even for boy, they are important to know about this muscle, because it's an intimate part of the body, we don't talk about it. And we actually, a lot of women, they learn about the pelvic floor when they get pregnant and after pregnancy. But it's something we should know even before, when we start being, develop and being a teen. Even kids should learn how to protect the pelvic floor, but we don't do that.
Yeah. Eventually, it's going to be a progress, I hope, in the education system. And why is it so important, especially after childbirth, to heal the pelvic floor?
The pelvic floor during pregnancy with the hormones, it's kind of losing a bit. So it can happen that if you already have a bit of weak pelvic floor, and because of the pregnancy, the weight, you can have a bit of leak during pregnancy, which is an indication that your pelvic floor is a bit weak. But it has to lose a bit, losing a bit for the baby to pass through the pelvis. So it's the hormones are preparing for the stretch, the big stretch that's happening during childbirth, and it's a huge stretch. So obviously it needs a big of time to heal back. And why it's important to get your muscle back in shape, it's because, like I said, it's important for many functions. So if you have a weak pelvic floor after birth, you can have problems like urine leak. You can have even in the anus area, you can have some leak. And you can have constipation problems, hemorrhoids. You can have also prolapsus, which means the organs are going down, which can cause pain, discomfort, and again, incontinence for the bladder if the bladder is going down too much. So it can be, and these problems can happen just after birth, but sometimes years after.
Really?
Just after birth, you don't have any problems, so you think I'm fine, but actually because it's still a bit weak, and then with years going and more, pressure on the pelvic floor with the daily life, and then you can have problem after. So actually, it's also a prevention for all your life to work on the pelvic floor after birth. And also sometimes you don't have problem with your first pregnancy. After your first pregnancy, you're like, I feel strong, I feel, it's all fine. And then you get pregnant the second time, and then you experience, oh, I have leak during pregnancy. I never had that before. And it's because it was a bit weak from the first pregnancy. So yeah. I always say to women working on your pelvic floor after birth, it's a gift you give yourself for your life.
For later on.
Yeah.
Is it actually, I have to admit, the leaking of pee is the one I heard the most. And well, it also affects me. That's probably one. It's the most common one. Okay. Is it kind of usual or normal that there's a little bit of leaking after childbirth because it's so stretched, or
it can be normal, but especially the first week. The first week after birth, because of all the pressure, the leak, the stretch. Also, if you add an epidural, especially if you have an epidural during childbirth, then they will do they will put catheter inside your urine tract, to empty your bladder. So this can be disturbing a bit for the urethral sphincter. So then is a big week but maybe a week or two. If it's still after a week or two, that means there's something we should work on. But the first week, if you have leak, that doesn't mean that it will stay like that. It's quite common, yeah.
Okay. And I was just thinking again, like since it's such so important, and there are actually in Germany 3 classes. I think 10 or 12 classes you take, especially to fix your pelvic floor after birth, and it's every newly mom is advised to take this class, and I think in France it's probably the same. And why is it not like this in Japan?
So yeah, in Japan I heard that there is a midwife that actually they give you exercise to do, they give you advice, like a paper with exercise that you can do. They never gave me something for me. I don't recall. And there is maybe classes, like a group classes, more than before. There is classes and things, and we talk more about the pelvic floor now, but it's still something a bit new topic. The difference is that in France, it's not like group classes. It's more intimate. In France, when you are sending home after your stay at the hospital, you have a prescription for 10 sessions with a midwife or a physio, so private session, and it's all covered by insurance, so free of charge. I mean, maybe you pay, but then you have, and it's more one-to-one session. And so the physiotherapist or the midwife evaluate your pelvic floor by putting the 2 fingers, placing 2 fingers inside the vagina to see how you squeeze, to explain the exercise. So I see that the problem with group classes is that you explain the exercise and then the mother has to say, yes, I felt it, but what she felt maybe was not what it was supposed to be. And maybe even if she's not feeling anything, she will lie because she feel a bit ashamed in a group class. I'm not feeling, everyone is feeling. So there is, it's great to have those classes, but I don't know, maybe because I'm French and I'm used to the French system, I think it's a bit more efficient to work on one-to-one, and then also if there is intimate question to ask, you can ask, rather than in a group class when there is other people. So yes, it's really intimate, and I think it's maybe not so weird for French people, because also during the pregnancy, the French are maybe the one that are, checking the cervix the most, and maybe it's less taboo than in other countries to be touched in this area because you are used of that during pregnancy. I don't know. But even with this prescription, some women are not doing
Okay.
even if it's free, and which is a shame, but
Yeah. Talking about these exercises, is there, since we're in Japan and we don't have these exact classes like in France or in Germany, what are there exercises you can do at home when you to recover?
Yeah, so before doing exercise, what is important is to, again, the prevention is important. So when you just give birth, it's important to understand that you should rest first. Rest and let the pelvic floor recover a bit by itself. And so not putting extra weight on the pelvic floor. For that, the first 2 weeks, you should be almost all the time in bed or lying down, and everyone around is doing the chores for you, and you just have to take care of the breastfeeding if you're breastfeeding, and feeding the baby and bonding with the baby and taking care of yourself. Because you have to realize that just after birth, the uterus is still really heavy. For the first 2 weeks especially, it is not like back to the shape of before, and is on a weak pelvic floor and holding by weak ligament, because the ligament that's all the uterus during pregnancy and during life in general. Uterus is not floating in the abdominal. There is a holding point. It's like ligament, and because of the pregnancy, they get loose, they get stretched. So it's like, there is a doctor that she gave an image that I really like. It's like she's saying, it's like, a uterus holding on a loose elastic, like, jumping. So if actually usually women, if you ask the question, they say, oh yeah, you're right. When I'm standing for too long, there is like a weight on my pelvic floor. And the weight is from the uterus that is still huge. So you shouldn't feel this weight. If you feel the weight, that means you've been too long standing up and or even sitting. So the best way is first to rest, and then gently start maybe moving more, like walking. But if you start walking, in the beginning, it's good to have a belt, the pelvis belt, that is really helping your pelvis to be, stable, and also help with the weight. And then, gently listen your body, really. If there is weight on your pelvic floor, that means you should lie down for a bit. And it's also help, to not be sitting or standing too much. It's also helping for the stitches to heal. So yeah,
stitches,
the tradition culture are like that. Like, there is this 1 month in a tradition culture. It was always like that. Even in France, Europe, the first month, the mother was almost all the time in bed, and everyone was carrying around her. So we should continue this tradition, because it's actually a protecting tradition for the body of the mother. So yeah.
Oh yeah, speaking of that, I heard here in Japan many times women are advised to stay at home the first month and not go outside. And
yeah, it's like a protection. Even in Muslim country, there is like this 40 days of when they shouldn't. In France, they used to have also this 40 days tradition, when after 40 days we would have like a little party, and it was calling the relève, which means like getting up again. So it makes sense, to first, before starting to, you don't have time to really exercise when you're in postpartum. We always want to rush back in the previous way of, but we have to be realistic. We just gave birth, so we have to take care of ourselves and recover first, and then we can work on the muscles. But yeah, first prevention and
First
rest.
prevention is right. It's just so, I thought it was so difficult, especially being a foreigner in Japan or wherever you in the world are, in a foreigner without a family, and you don't have like in the Asian countries, ancient countries, like all the community that is supporting you and your family. Yeah, but we have to organize ourselves before.
Yeah, this is what, when I do preparation as midwife, I really talk about this and how to organize and see what can be the plan, and also talk to the husband, to really the partner, to be sure that he's involved about that. Because for sure it's tiring to have a baby, and even for the father it's tiring, but he didn't give birth, so his body is a bit more in shape for the heavy task. So yeah.
Okay, so I put it together again shortly in a nutshell. So you said at least 2 weeks we should not move too much, or take really care of us and recover. The other thing I was interested in, the exercises you can actually do already during pregnancy, right?
Yes. So you can do, all your life you can do pelvic floor exercise actually, but it's a great timing to learn, if you didn't know before about your pelvic floor, to learn how to exercise, because first it can be a prevention about the leaking during pregnancy. It's also help you to know how to how to use your pelvic floor and how to relax it, because when you work on the pelvic floor exercise, you work on how to contract the muscle, but how to release it. And releasing, it's important during childbirth. So it's actually a good preparation to be able to be as relaxed as possible during childbirth. And if you experienced before giving birth, then you're more likely to know what to expect, to go back in terms of sensation, feelings, rather than being, I didn't know how to use my pelvic floor before. It's really hard to start just after birth, when it's even more difficult to use it. So that's why it's important for me to teach during pregnancy where is the pelvic floor, how to use it, what you can feel, etc. And so you can try as soon as you want, after birth. It depends of the type of birth you had. If you had many stitches, maybe you wait until you are comfortable, because using your pelvic floor can make, it can be a bit painful if you had episiotomy or things like that. So sometimes after 2 weeks it's fine. Sometimes we have to wait 1 month to really work on exercise after birth, because when you have an episiotomy, especially, we cut the muscle. We cut one muscle. So if you contract this muscle, then it's a bit painful. So it's better to be not in pain and wait. But if you're still in pain after 1 month, that means you should see someone. We shouldn't be in pain after 1 month of after birth. It should be better. So, yes. So, yeah.
When you say we should see someone, in this case, what would be the right person to see?
So if you're still in pain, you're first the gynecologist. If there is nothing on that it can see, on the scar or, infection or things like that, then maybe you can see an osteopath or chiropractor or physio specialized in a pelvic floor, because that can be inside tensions, especially on the muscle, because like I said, we cut the muscle, so that means there is stitches in the muscle, and those stitches can make like a little knot, and this little knot is painful, and massage also can help, but having someone that see the situation. Gynecologists sometimes are not the best, because they are like, I don't see anything.
Yeah, they.
So it should be better. Some, investigate more. So it depends of kind. But it's important to see where it's the pain and work on it. So massage can help also. If you
But
feel it's really healing well, like there is no problem with the stitches, scar, and etc., but you're still a bit in pain, you can massage like you do the massage we do during pregnancy, a bit of stretching.
okay. You mean the stretching massage to prepare for childbirth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there? Could you explain one simple exercise?
Yes. Should we do together?
Yes, please.
So let's sit with the 2 feet on the floor, and maybe a bit on the edge on the front of the chair, or you can be on the floor like cross-legged, depends what's better. So what's important is that we will do with the breathing. So the breathing will be that when we inhale, there is no work on the pelvic floor, but we will start the exhale by walking on the pelvic floor. It's like the image of the toothpaste tube. When you exhale, it's like when you want to roll. You're not exhaling like just squeezing in the middle with your abdominal muscle, but you kind of squeeze from the bottom, like that. So to bring the air out and up. So you start by squeezing the pelvic floor and then exhaling, squeezing all the muscle up. So to squeeze the pelvic floor, you imagine that you have to hold in the same time pee and poo.
At the same time?
Yeah, really strong. Yeah, you want to hold everything and bringing up. It's like you want to bring up your pelvic floor.
While inhaling.
Not while exhaling, yes.
Exhaling.
But you be careful to not squeeze the buttocks area. So you shouldn't lift yourself from the chair. It should be stable on the same level. So we do it together. So basically, when you inhale, you relax. So you inhale, then you start squeezing down, and then exhale while holding your pelvic floor up. And then you inhale again and you relax. And then when we try one more time, but next time when we will relax, we will try to do 2-step, not relax like the pelvic floor, like, whoop, but just, I want to relax a bit and then completely, to feel the difference between a bit and completely, and not like letting everything going down in once.
Like more controlling it, right?
Yeah, more controlling the relaxing is important too. So first we inhale is relax. Then we start squeezing the pelvic floor and then starting exhaling. Holding the pelvic floor up. And then we relax a bit and completely. And you can feel the difference between a bit and completely.
Yes, and why is it so important to do it in steps, to not really like let it go at once, but to take the time?
It's for pregnant women, there is two reasons I teach that way. Is that to make them feel that sometimes we think we are relaxed, but we are not completely relaxed, and which is important during childbirth. And for in a term of control, it means you have more control if you can relax, not all in once.
Yeah.
Because some people, when they say relax, everything is going down, but because they don't have really enough control, and this is why it's going down all in once. So yeah.
And now in this exercise, we squeezed we squeeze like the vagina and anus at the same time, right?
Yes.
But there are also exercises where you do just one of them, right?
Yeah. But this is more like, I mean, for women would never experience the pelvic floor. I mean, this is a simple exercise.
Yeah.
But then if they feel enough, I can explain when, we can only, so there is another exercise where when you want to first squeeze around the anus area and like bringing, it's like bringing the coccyx, so anus area coccyx in the front. And the other exercise would be to do the opposite. But for that, you have to feel a bit. Yeah. So during pregnancy, sometimes harder to feel your pelvic floor because it's a bit loose with the pregnancy. So it depends. I try to teach and see the reaction. But at least if you know how to do that, it's still a good beginning, to do that. And trying to do with the exhale and trying to feel that it's going up and that then it's going down. And then, yes, we work with, because the pelvic floor is not one muscle, it's a lot of muscle working together. So we can work different area, but that's a bit more specific and hard to feel sometimes. When I explain that you can actually trying to close your vagina only on the left and then only on the right, I see usually the eyes popping up. What she's talking about?
It's maybe the advanced exercise.
This is advanced. I mean, when you try, sometimes you succeed the first time, but usually it's a bit more trying to do that when you never experience. I remember when I learned about that, I was a young student midwife, and it was during a training, and the midwife explained that, and I was like, what? And I was on my chair trying to do it. I was like, left and right. Oh yeah, I can. But I never did before. So it was kind of new experience. So yes, but now I master it because I have years of training. So yeah.
So the exercise we just did together is a good starter, right?
Yeah, it's a good start. And also but maybe you will put the link of another exercise that can be good for the pelvic floor, even if it's not directly the pelvic floor, is the breathing exercise that you can do from day one to bring the abdominal muscle together. So because actually the pelvic floor is working a bit with the abdominal muscle, especially the core muscle. They are also holding the organs, the bladder, the uterus up. And also they are loose after pregnancy. So we should also work on those muscles. But like crunches are really bad. So never do like abdominal crunches. There is first, exercise that you can do with the breathing. So when you do the squeezing the pelvic floor, what you can do is to exhale deeply, 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 and always up. And then when you don't have any more, when you exhale and there is no more air left, you can close your mouth, close your nose, and trying to still lift up your abdominal organs. Maybe I can show.
Yes, please.
So, sorry. So you exhale, you squeeze your pelvic floor, you exhale deeply. So it's going in. And then closing your mouth and nose. And you want to, it's like you want to bring all the organs you have inside up. In your rib cage, basically.
In a what?
In your rib cage, inside the rib cage. So you want to bring everything here.
Okay.
exercise.
Okay.
So this is
Didn't know that term.
the image you have in your, but not the shoulder up, only here. So this you can do for the first month. You can do like once a day or twice, and trying to hold as long as you can, and then longer and longer. So this is a safe exercise and good.
During pregnancy?
No, after.
After pregnancy. Okay. So this one you just showed that was after pregnancy. Okay.
Yeah, just from day one after pregnancy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's also really connected with the imagination and the mind, right? It seems like.
Yeah.
And you talked about the link. So this there's an exercise on YouTube that.
Yes, I mean there is a really good doctor, but I was looking about actually English video. I didn't find English video, but I mean it show on the videos, and actually her website I saw you that you can translate in English. And so her name is Dr. Bernadette de Gasquet.
Okay.
And she's like the boss of the pelvic floor in France. Okay. She wrote so many books about the pelvic floor. She dedicates all her life about that. She's a gynecologist, a yoga teacher, and she really she really mastered the topic. And so there is a lot of videos about a method for afterbirth, what to do, those breathing exercise for abdominal, and even also abdominal exercise, because she wrote a book about how we should stop doing crunches and why, and explaining why it's bad for your body, and what kind of exercise is safe and good for having a strong and flat belly, but not damaging your pelvic floor. So.
Okay, I will put the link in the description, and I think even though it's in French, with Google, when she has a website, there's usually Google Translate, and also on YouTube videos I saw there are some
she's actually well known in Japan, because there is Institut de Gasquet in Japan.
Really?
So because she's well known about the pelvic floor, so she's actually doing some training for midwives here, and there is an Institut de Gasquet in
Japan.
In Japan, in Tokyo or
probably.
close to Tokyo, and they do classes and things. So for Japanese. So yeah. Unfortunately, it's in Japanese, but.
Okay, so you have the choice between Japanese and French. Now there's like translate. Okay, thank you so much for sharing this. I will also put the link of the institute in the description. I also heard, I don't know if it's a German exercise, but I heard this from a German specialist, that you imagine you have a private the information, or you imagine you have a tampon inside, and then you imagine somebody wants to pull it out, and then you try to hold it in, like squeezing it.
That's a good image, actually, because this is actually what we should do. That's why also there is the device that you can use to work yourself on pelvic floor exercise is the geisha ball. I don't know if that, and that's the same. It's like you put something inside, and there is like a string, and you can see that you're working while your pelvic floor, because it's going up.
Oh, okay. So okay.
Yeah. So you can try also putting your finger and see if when you squeeze something is happening.
Okay. And also a recommendation I think I got from a Japanese midwife. Was it having sex? Is it possible?
Yes, if it's not painful, because sometimes it's painful, so we shouldn't force ourselves to be in pain. But sex is not only penetration sex, so it can be all around the area. But yes, basically having orgasm is good for the pelvic floor because it makes it contract by itself. But yes, sex is also great way.
Good news for all the husbands out there.
But it's nice.
Yes, of course.
Nothing
Yeah,
pain
maybe not directly
and
after giving birth.
yeah, and about sex after giving birth, it's up to you. You don't have to wait a certain time. For sure, if you have stitches, it's better to wait until it's completely healed. And C-section also, it's better to wait at least 1 month because it can be painful. But the thing that we don't talk about is that the muscles are changing and etc. But also because of the hormones, we're usually a bit more dry in this area after birth. So it's good to use lubrication and
What?
by buying a lubricant, a gel that's helps
Okay.
lubrication.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes there is mothers that are saying, oh, it's a bit painful. We tried, but it's a bit painful. And I usually ask, did you try with that? And they say no. And usually it's really helping because you can be a bit anxious after birth. So it's also not helping to be wet enough. And also with the hormones, especially if you're breastfeeding, you're a bit more dry. And there is nothing you can, it's hormonal. So it will maybe go back normal after breastfeeding, but there is option. That doesn't mean that you cannot have sex. There's just, using something.
Good information, yeah. Yeah, because it's now that you say it, it seems so obvious, but maybe in the moment you don't think about using like this kind of
and
gel.
If you're not used to use something you don't think you need, but it's not a shame.
It helps,
A lot of people use.
You mentioned a little bit before the tear and episiotomy. So the recovery of the pelvic floor, is it we should wait a little bit longer when we have a tear or episiotomy? Is it to start with the recovery of the pelvic floor with the exercises?
You wait until you're not in pain, basically. Okay. So you try. Usually after 1 month it should be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you work also with osteopath. Is there an address you can, or how can an osteopath help? And do you know somebody, or who's the person you know? Would you share that with us?
So yes, because like I say, the pelvic floor is a lot of muscles. So they get weak after the birth, but also if there is an episiotomy or even a tearing, and then the stitches can create tension, or even the birth itself can create tension. And sometimes we cannot contract a muscle because it's kind of pulled back by something. And so then you cannot contract anymore. And so osteopath can work on the tension of the muscle, and the pelvis maybe. Also, the pelvis can be a bit crooked because of the birth and pregnancy, a bit unstable, and because all the muscles are inserted on the pelvis. Obviously, there is relation between the two. So working on that can help, especially if you have pain on one side. It can work on release the tension, and then the work I can do is more efficient. And I can see the difference. I remember one woman, I was working on her, and I noticed a real big difference between the left and right side. And I say, you're more weak on the right side. And then she saw the osteopath, and then she came back the week after, and it was way better. She could contract her muscle way better. It's just because they were like something holding back. So which is making sense. All the bodies, it's not parts like separate. We're all, it's a whole. Yeah. So sometimes it's not visible, but there is tension. And me, I'm not an osteopath, so I don't always feel where there is tension. So the French osteopath I know and is good with pelvic floor is is walking on the outside. He's not putting his finger inside, except for some walk. Sometimes he cannot walk on outside, but then he asks permission, and he's only doing if it's okay with everyone. But usually he's walking outside.
Outside. Okay.
I mean, you are in underwear, but still, he's not putting fingers inside you without asking you, at least. And it's rare when he has to do that. His name is Johan Rosto.
Oh, okay.
So he's
somebody else already.
Yeah,
I recommended him. Must be a good address.
And he's working with another osteopath, and there is also other osteopaths, French osteopath, and I know a chiropractor, but he's not specialized in pelvic floor, but he can work on the pelvis in Azerbaijan. It's Suto Healing Center. There's a good chiropractor that speaks English.
We'll also put the link in the description. Cool. Very cool. Okay, so we got already good exercises from you and first-hand information from an expert. But I mean, you can do all, or you should. It would be good if you do all these exercises at home, but I still think it's very important to see somebody like you or have it checked by an expert, right? It's like not only doing it on your own, right? That's my feeling.
I mean, it's good to do on your own, but I mean, I believe that having someone checking that what you do is right, it's always helpful for a lot of things. I mean, when we start doing yoga, even if we do with YouTube video, it's always better to have a yoga teacher seeing what you're doing, because you cannot always evaluate yourself. Mm-hmm. And especially if you have leaking, urine leak, or you feel weight, or you feel pain, or you still constipate after even 1 month after giving birth, and it's not usual for you, or things like that, that you feel it's not right, it's not like you used to be in this area. It's always nice to be checked and see what I can do to help. You know, and it's an education also. All the women that are coming, they're like, it was so interested to learn about my muscle and how to do. It's a bit, for me, I realized that working on a pelvic floor of women is like empowerment for women, because kind of having control in this area, which is
absolutely
out. Yeah,
agreed.
So but just to be clear, the French way I do the French way, which means intimate way. So that means I put 2 fingers inside your vagina, not deep, but still there. So if you have to be ready to this kind of intimacy.
Yes. And what is a good way to get in touch with you for this kind of session?
Email is the
okay.
way. Yeah.
So
I usually answer if it's not the day after, if I forgot to send you email again, but usually I don't.
Okay. And to make it complete, what does it cost, a session with you?
So the first session, which is the evaluation session, which lasts 1 hour, it's 5,000. Yeah, and then it's 4,000 each session. And usually I recommend at least 3 sessions. So 1 evaluation and then 2. So I can explain all the exercise, and we evaluate together if you need more or not after these 3 sessions.
And it's also okay to bring the baby.
Yeah, it's okay to bring the baby.
It's like, where should I go with the baby?
Yeah, no, you can bring the baby. The work itself on the pelvic floor, it's not lasting really long. Because we cannot contract the pelvic floor for hours anyway. It's especially in the beginning, it's a bit weak, so it gets tired really quickly. So there is, and I have a nice sofa when you can breastfeed. So don't worry to bring your baby. You're more than welcome.
Oh, thank you. Cool. Just about the cost. So here in Japan, I discovered, okay, either you are like on an expat contract, you or your husband, and then it's reimbursed. That's what I understand from the international insurance. Or if you are under Japanese health insurance, then you have to pay it yourself. But I think there's what we did last year. You can get some of the amount back doing a health tax declaration. So everything that's over 100,000 yen will be taken into account, right? That's also your information you got, right?
Yeah. So I give invoice for all the sessions. I mean, but I feel it's not. Usually women say, oh, it's not a big cost for what is worth it. So I'm trying to keep, my fees not too much. And I don't do like too many sessions just to have the income. I just do,
what's necessary.
Important. Yeah.
Nice. And anyways, when you pay childbirth here, you will be easily over, or for sure you will be over the 100,000 yen. So there's you can turn it in the bills. Okay, wonderful. So at the beginning I said you're a certified midwife, but you are also doing so many other things. Can you let us know how you can help parents or moms to be, or who are already parents?
Yeah, so I'm a midwife and also lactation consultant. So that means I'm providing pregnancy support, so birth classes. I used to do group classes, but with the COVID, I do only private, but I will go back to group classes also. So French and English. I can be there during childbirth if it's allowed. So right now it's not allowed except few places because of the coronavirus. But I used to, assist birth with the title of doula, which is the title I can use here. And then having postpartum visits, breastfeeding support, breastfeeding consultation, then, pelvic floor, kind of physiotherapy, we can call it like that, reeducation of pelvic floor. I do also baby massage classes, and I do also massage, Ayurvedic massage for not for pregnancy, but after birth. We have to wait a bit to be comfortable on a table, lying on the belly because of the breast. So maybe not just after, but maybe 1 month after. And that's it.
Yeah,
and I'm part of. No, that's it for me.
Okay.
But I'm part of the IPO. I'm co-founder of the IPO French Association. So it's IPO means little by little. So with Alice Kibekren, which is a French psychologist and sophologist, we co-found this association to help parents little by little to become parents. So French-speaking parents to be. So it's for parents to be and parents with small children from 0 to 3 years old, basically. But sometimes we do also things for a bit older children. But yeah, so this is to have the French village.
The French village in Tokyo, yes.
It's important to build your village when you're pregnant.
Yes, so, definitely. How can you manage? Oh, it gets so much easier to manage it with your help. Last year when our daughter was born, I know your support was very helpful and also built some great friendships. Thanks to you, thanks to Ipo, so it made my life so much easier. And I had the recovery also with you. Wonderful. So, Celia, thank you so much for all the information, for the exercises, for your recommendations. I will put in the link in the notes the links, and yeah, thanks a lot for your time.
Welcome. It was nice.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Celia.
Thank you.
Bye.